Good judgment is something we all need in life. And I'm reminded of this great story, probably fabricated, but nonetheless, it makes the point. A young man had just graduated from his university in finance, and his father was well connected in the community in which he grew up. And the young son who just graduated said, "Dad, can you introduce me to the bank president? I would love to one day be the president of a bank." And the father said, "Sure, I can arrange that. He's a good friend of mine." So he calls, he makes an appointment. The day arrives, and the young man goes into the bank president's office. And very graciously, the bank president said, "Sit down. I'm glad you're here." And he sits across the desk from him. And the young man looks at him and says, "Wow, you've really made it. This is great. This is what I want to do one day." And so the bank president said, "Well, how can I help you?" And he said, "Well, what I'd really like to know is, how did you become so successful?" And the man smiled, folded his hands, leaned back in his chair, and he said, "That's easy. Two words: good decisions." It frustrated the young man. I wanted more than that, he's thinking. But he says, "Well, yeah," stuttering a little bit. "Well, of course you made good decisions, but how did you learn to make good decisions?" The man smiled, folded his arms, leaned back. And he said, "That's easy. Two words: bad decisions." So judgment really is the same word as discernment. It's one Hebrew word being translated between. And what that means is that it may not be between bad and good, it may be between what's good and best, but it's an idea of perception. The writer to the Hebrews picks it up in chapter 5, and he says, "Who by training have their senses trained to become, to discern rather good and evil." And so a person learns good judgment by praying before the Father, "Would you give me wisdom?" Like Solomon did when he said, "Give me wisdom above all riches," and God gave him that as well as riches. So we learn it by coming before God and also by studying His Word, where we learn His righteous judgments.